So welcome everybody. One advantage of having everybody share is we'll have a lot of participation because John will call on Sherry and that means you have to participate. Welcome to Mastery Roleplay with Denny Grimes. I've got Sonny Hammermeister in the background and one of our co-hosts and the voice, John McLeod. And we're excited today because we're going to have a special guest. And just so you guys know, if you're new to the call, we call it mastery level role play because what we want to do is the style we teach is question based. It's conversation based. We call it question based listening enhanced conversations. And one of my pet peeves is that listening is a lost art. In fact, I call listening the art of silence because we're silent and we're listening. I can't tell you how many times. In fact, we had somebody come into our office today to give a presentation. And I asked a question and she went on for about 3 minutes and answering a question I did not ask. That happens many times in our conversations with buyers and sellers. Why? Because we're not listening. And if we are listening, we don't understand what they mean. So I will start with just a reminder that we do have a YouTube channel and all of our past recordings are here. If you go to YouTube, Denny Grimes, The Mastery of Real Estate, subscribe. I'm attempting to get to 500 here. That's my next milestone and help us get there. And then we always start before we get into the serious role play. And John is very angry today and he's going to make sure we have some tough ones. Always have the thought of the day. Now, so let me set this up because this is going to be important. I know Jason lives in Tucson and there may be some other people here from Arizona. I'm in South Florida, Fort Myers, Naples area, and we get people visiting here and moving here. Now, Jason, you can confirm this. Do you guys use the term snowbirds?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so that's people that live somewhere in the north and they look for somewhere warm to live. Now, here's I just have a conversation quickly with you. Jason, you know, you got a motorcycle behind you, so maybe traffic doesn't bother you because you can weave and bob in and out of it. Do you have slow drivers in Tucson?
Yes, and they definitely get slower when the snowbirds come. Absolutely.
And here's my point, you guys. When we don't know where we're going, and snowbirds are here and they fund our business, so I've learned to accept it. However, they're noted for not driving quickly. Why? They have nowhere to go at any particular time. And so what that means for us in business, if we don't have clarity where we're going, we're not going to get there maybe, or if we do get there, we're going to get there slow. So our special guest today is going to be Christy Mock. Christy Mock is, of course, the daughter of Kristen Cole, who's my wife, and she's also a mega agent in not only Alaska, which is an awesome place, that offices all over. I was having a conversation with my wife, and she brags on her kids all the time, but this was a little bit different. She was talking about how well Christy delivered her, what we call, it's a GPS or a 135. If you don't know what that is, I believe in the chat, I believe that's going to be it's going to be in there, you guys, for you to take a look at as Christy goes over. You can open up, I think she shared her GPS, and there's a blank one for you to download as well, so you can work on it yourself. So Christy, I appreciate you being on. I know it's still kind of early. You're 4 hours behind us, and I have never heard your mom brag on you quite so much. And I appreciate you sharing with us because one of the, in fact, the biggest thing I hear from people as I go around teaching in the bold room is that they would love to get a better handle on their schedule and their direction. And you cannot have a successful GPS without having a direction. So any way you'd like to take it and share. And if you guys have some questions, I've got John and Sonny looking at the chat. Feel free to share. Christy, welcome and thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, Denny. For those I don't know, my name is Christy Mock. I live in Wasilla, Alaska, and I lead a mega agent team here. I am with the Kristen Cole Network, and I'm also in production. And so this 12-week year that I just recently prepared and presented, I present quarterly to our leadership team. We all present them to one another, and it helps us keep ourselves accountable to the goals that we set for the year. And really, I'd say put a microscope on it. And especially, I think this is an important conversation that I just had with my team and with our leadership team is we're a lot of people think, oh, we've got, 5 months left of the year to hit our goals. And the reality is we really only have 60 days. Or, well, here in Alaska, let me say, it's about a 45 to 60 day closing. So for us, it's about 90 days. And then if you take out your time off or what days you're not going to be working, the reality is for me, when I evaluated this, I've got 60 days left to hit my goals. So Denny, is there a way for me to share my screen?
Yes, maybe. Would John or Sonny, would you make her a co-host, please?
While you're doing that, the chat is disabled
Chat is disabled.
on my end. Yeah, so there's no links or anything up there.
All right.
We'll figure that one out. I'm working behind the scenes to figure that one out right now, Jason.
Christy, are you a co-host yet?
I do not see the. Okay, here we go. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep, that's awesome. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, great. So my goal for the year for 2022 was to sell 100 listings. And when I evaluated and prepared this last week, I looked at my year-to-date closing. So I'm at 61 with 12 in the pipeline. So I now know that I needed to sell another 27 listings in 60 days. And so the
Christy,
purpose.
I have a bad habit of coaching through when people are talking. You don't mind
Am I talking too fast?
No, I don't think so. However, I'm impressed already, you guys, because again, I'm being a bold coach. I talk to agents all over the country, even my own. And the fact, here's lesson number one, you guys, you've got to know your numbers. I'm shocked at how many people ask, how's business going? What's your production? And they don't know. So clearly, if you want to know where you're going, you've got to know where you've been. So that's point number one. So sometimes I'm going to interrupt you. It's just, I just want to emphasize something good. Okay.
Please do. Yeah, definitely interrupt. So this is specific to me. Let me say our team production as a whole is up 19% over last year, year to date. So I like to know that as well. But again, this is just specific to myself. And so I know that I need to sell 27 listings. And when I evaluate this, I've got, for me, 60 days left for 2022 to make this happen. And so one thing I have to look at is my conversion ratio, because I know that for 2022, I'm at a 94% conversion rate for every appointment that I go on. I know my average days on market and my list to sales price ratio. And why I need to know that is because that's going to help me determine how many appointments that I need to go on in order to hit that goal of selling 27 listings. As I went through this, I realized that I don't necessarily have to go on the 20 appointments, but it's going to be safer to do so because I've got an active inventory already. So I'm going to go through because these next priorities are how I'm going to get to that selling 27 listings. And so the first priority is going on 20 appointments. So I've got 2 months left, so 10 appointments a month. And my strategy for that is going to be really focusing on our follow-ups. And so that's 5 calls a day, and then also looking for 5 referral calls. And also time blocking for those calls. Now, Denny mentioned being really strategic with your schedule. And I am. I look at my calendar every Sunday night for the entire week. I plan out when I'm doing my lead generation time, where my appointments are going to go and anything personal for the week. And I live by it.
So let me ask you, Christy, there's 5 lead follow-up calls a day and 5 referral calls. Explain what those are.
So my follow-up calls are for the pipeline. So people that I've met with in the past or that have asked for updated market values, or anyone that I've had a conversation about real estate that was just a not yet. They were a no at the time, but they're not yet for the future. So I'm just following up and giving them market information and updates and updated market values, and just talking with them about the changes that we're seeing, and seeing if they have a need right now or if they know of somebody else that I could help. And then as far as the 5 referral calls, I really focus on my sphere of influence that give me, I've got my top 10 list that give me the most business. And so I'm coming to them with an item of value, to then in return ask them to help me this year if they'd be willing to, you know, give me a referral, because they've already given me 3 this year. So what's another 2? And then I time block for those calls. I have this note on here just because it's a strategy that saved me a lot of time and allowed me to get a lot more appointments in. But what I started doing is, if I don't have the price when I go on the listing appointment, I'm getting the listing signed no matter what. I do not leave a listing appointment without a listing agreement signed, if at all possible. So if they're hung up on the price, or maybe I wasn't expecting it to be in a certain condition, I get the listing agreement signed at the appointment regardless, with to be determined, and I follow up the next day. And that has really helped me with, one, not letting there be an opportunity for anyone else to come in and get that listing from me. And also if they're not ready. So if they're 3 months down the road, but they're just starting the process and they have work to do, again, that's a lot of time for their cousin to get licensed in real estate and then become the expert that's going to help them.
So I don't want to put you on the spot. So if we're sitting there at the table, what would the conversation look like? Well, Christy, you know, we're going to list, you know, winter's coming and we want to list in the maybe, you know, in the spring. So we'll give you a call then. What might you say to me?
I would say, I totally appreciate that you want to list in the spring. What I would recommend is we have, you know, professional staging and things that we can help you to move this along quicker. And by signing with me today, I can help you. I can invest in you by helping you get those resources in order to make sure that you're ready by that time or sooner. So signing with me today allows that. So one thing, like Alaska, we only have 4 months of good picture weather. So like one of the value propositions I'm telling people now is, let's get if you're going to list in February, Denny, where it's ugly in Alaska, let's get your pictures taken now. Let's take all those nice summer photos now.
That makes sense. I might have thrown you a curveball by that being, you know, so far away. However, they're 30 days. Well, you know, we want to do some things and, you know, and we'll want to tidy up a little bit. We're going to list in 30 days. That might be an easier one. What might you say if it's like 30 days away and it's not really a seasonal thing? What value would you say? Well, here's the advantage of signing the listing form now.
The advantage of signing the listing form right now is that I'm going to start letting my team know about your property. Denny, would you be interested if we happen to have a couple buyers that would want to view your property before we go live? Would you be interested in that?
See, that's a question. That's exactly what we talk about on this call, you guys. And I think it's very strategic. How many people have heard or have had it happen to them where you think you're groovy, you're in like Flint. That goes back in time. Who remembers that? And you think, oh yeah, just, you know, we'll be ready next week. And when next week comes, what happens? I mean, the market we just left, there's somebody driving down the road, knocking on doors, looking for a house to sell. So that's a pearl, you guys, to make sure you get the listing signed while you're there, regardless. Okay, keep going.
So the next question I ask myself is, what sources of business are going to produce? Like, where am I going to get these 20 appointments a month? Like, where is that going to come from? And so I look at every year where my sources of business have come from and my highest rate of return, because I want to, with 60 days left, I want to focus on what's going to get me immediate results. So it's my referrals, my past clients, and my database. And so we do a ton of client events, and we've got one happening currently, and then another one, our biggest one's going to be happening here in a couple months. And so my goal will be, with those client events that we have left over the next 60 days, is to get 5 appointments from those clients that I'm calling and inviting to those events. I've got 24 active listings currently. So then I'll evaluate, okay, what price reductions can I get this week by 10%, so that I know that I can get an offer on that property before the weekend. And what new listings do I have coming on that could be in that inventory of 27 that I need to sell? And the biggest thing I would say, like, of all of this, because this is very narrow focused, but to me, it's like my one and only thing is going to be getting appointments, creating a sense of urgency in my current pipeline, and getting my current listing sold, because I know that that's going to be my best way to hit my goal. And so my pipeline and creating urgency, and my assistant Bridget, who's also licensed, she's helping call through our pipeline as well and creating urgency with sellers on what we're seeing and why they should sell now. I also get referrals from the team, our admin and from door knocking, things like that. And then I've got my sphere of influence that I know I can count on 5 from between now and the next 60 days.
That's awesome.
And then my priority 3 is just team leverage. And I just kind of touched on it, but all of my administrative staff are licensed. So they all have the ability to lead generate, which is a beautiful thing. And so they have commitments to their call goals every day and every week, and how many people we're going to be connecting with, in addition to myself. And so I've got on here, Brivity is our database, our client care system. And she's working on mastering that, but calling through that every day. And again, working through that pipeline. I have an old assistant that's not physically in the office, but I've kept her licensed, and she calls for me, and she's calling through old leads and database leads from 2009 to 2015. And so again, back to the one and only thing that we're focusing on the next 60 days is creating urgency with our pipeline and what it takes and how many connections it's going to take to get us there. And then a couple other things on here. Our team is reading shift together. If you guys have a team, or even just if it's you, I highly recommend it. We started earlier this year, and we meet about it every week, and it's been really helpful, and ironically kind of right in line with what the market's been doing with each chapter that we're going through. And I'm also just started The Simple Path to Wealth. So that's a great one also if you have not read that book. That's pretty much sums it up. Denny, do you have any questions for me?
I'm sure there's going to be some questions from anyone out there, John, or what have you. I'll bring up another point before we go. That was a great job. You're right on time. Does anyone have any questions for her? You can off mic if you want, or you can chat if that's been fixed. I don't know if the chat's been fixed, John. It looks like it has. So any bubbling questions for Christy?
Hey, Christy, I've got one for you. It's John down in Naples. How are you doing?
Hi, John. Good.
Hey, so when you break down your strategies, and I love how you have this set up, do you have any bullet points for each specific strategy that you do so you can make sure you're on track?
What do you mean? Like, for example, like under the sources?
For example, priority 3, team leverage, ISA, Shanna, calling 20 past clients a week that bought in 2019 to 2015. Does she have a specific plan that she follows on that? Like maybe it's under the DTD2 schedule, so you know what letters she's calling and when. Does she call by price point? Is there more detail further down on some of these?
No, it's more so people that we've connected with in the past that never sold during that time frame, or they were listed and took it off the market. So it's specific to that. And then she sends me like a weekly report saying who she connected with, what the conversation was like, and what my next action needs to be with the person. So
Awesome.
she'll say, I set up an appointment for next week.
I love that, because what that shows is you don't have to get really high C on this.
No.
You can just bullet point what needs to be done. It's a guide that gets you to where you need to go. It's not Siri telling you to turn right at the stop sign in 18 feet. I love that.
Correct.
Well, you guys, I believe that's been attached, and maybe the blank one has been attached in the chat. If you haven't done that, John, that'd be helpful, or Sonny.
Yes, it is in there. If you guys can't find it by scrolling up, let me know and I'll reattach it.
2 really quick points, and we'll start doing some role play, and we'll have her come back sometime. First thing I want you to notice is that, well, I'm going to ask you, Christy, when you did this, I mean, obviously you don't sit down and do this at a red light. You're going to have to sit down and think about it, and it gets easier. So how long did it take you to put this together?
Well, the first time it took a long time, but then I build off of it over each quarter and I'm evaluating it. So it didn't take me a whole lot of time because I already have my admin sending me weekly reports. So I know my numbers every week anyways, to make sure the team is on track for their goals. One aha that I had, Denny, it wasn't with this time, but it was, I think, second quarter. No, it was the end of last year, actually, when I did this. So my goal was to sell 100 listings then too. And I was really disappointed because I didn't hit my 100 and I was falling short. But what I figured out is I base that number, like where the 100 comes from is my average sales price, and knowing how, you know, based on the commission, based on my average sales price is what I want to make, right, for the year. And when I went through it, I figured out that I had exceeded my goal. I had exceeded my financial goal because my average sales price had gone up so much. And I did not realize that from what I had set my goal on at the beginning of the year, that I had exceeded my volume. I was over, I think it was like 32 million that I had done in volume. And so I way exceeded that goal, but I was short on my actual number. But it helped me realize that, like, yes, I didn't hit that number, but I hit the goal.
That's just like, you know, putting on your old hush puppies and finding the $20 bill that was stuffed in there that you didn't know you had. That's always nice to find some money. And I'm sure no one knows what hush puppies are. So that's okay. That's one question. Second question, and don't move. I want everyone to look at the screen right now. This is one of the biggest mistakes agents make. And you don't have to be that elaborate to start. What I want you to notice, look at all the numbers. You see, you can't have a goal without a yardstick. She's got five lead file, 5 referrals, time block 9 to 10. Everything on there is measurable. So when you guys start with this, you know, make sure you have some metrics. And when you go on a diet, you got to have some sort of like, okay, goal. You got to have a scale. You have to look down at the scale. Last thing really quick here. And this is the craziest thing I've ever heard of, you guys. And you think, you know, when you talk about events, her team, Kristen's team, our team, we compete all the time. We win all the time on these great events. We've got the Pi Day coming up and we get a lot of referrals. Here's the strangest thing. You think it takes a lot of money for an event. And we'll close with this, Christy. The one you're working on now is state fair tickets. Now, am I right?
Yes, you're
okay.
right.
I'm in Alaska. State fair is a big deal because what are you going to do? You get to fish and hunt and pick up moose poop all the time. So state fair is a big deal, but it's not expensive. How much are fair tickets?
$13 a piece.
And so you give away how many?
12.
That's not expensive. And how many people call and register to win a $13 ticket?
The first 3 days we marketed it, we were at like 150 signups.
You guys don't overthink this stuff. I mean, that event, unlike the Pi events, a little bit more money. You can do these. We call it kind of reverse bold 100. So we'll have some of these events, and maybe we'll share some of the details of how to run the events. And it has nothing to do with the fair. It has nothing to do with the Pi. It's all the things you do before the event. You call them, hey, would you like to have a Pi? Would you like to win fair tickets? We gave away 2 tickets to a Tampa Bay game. And that's one of our giveaways. I love giveaways. It gives you the opportunity to call and talk to them about something other than real estate. And that really helps build relationships. And you track the number of referrals and sales you have. So Christy, do you remember how many referrals you had last Pi Day?
It was like 120, I think, something like that.
Yeah, we had 121. So
it was, yeah, whatever. You lost, for the record. But hey, real quick, Bridget, how many appointments have you set from following up on those state fair calls that we've had? I know there's been at least one. I can see her. I don't know if she's
at least 3.
Yeah, there you go. That's the secret.
And my client that she talked to literally called me last night and said, hey, I signed up for your state fair tickets and your assistant called me and set a listing appointment for 5 weeks from now when I get back from the slope. And I was like, that's awesome. So
awesome. So if you could stop sharing screen now, that'd be great.
Yep.
And that was awesome. So why don't we go ahead now and do that? That was very nice. Thanks for doing it all the way from Alaska. And let's go into and have some conversations, John. What's coming up first?
Well, let's see. The last thing on here is Bridget telling us we had 250 signups. So what do you want to cover today, Denny? Do you want to go into what do you want to cover today?
Well, I want to make sure we cover a buyer being a little bit feeling snake bit in this marketplace, and a stubborn seller, because we're having stubborn sellers. And so let's go down that road and let's.
All right, so let's do this. Christy, are you able to stay on for one role play and be the agent for me?
I didn't do that, Christy. He did.
Sure.
She says with some certain level of trepidation, who is going to be my extremely difficult seller?
No, be easy on me.
No, all right, Denise. Let's go, Denise. Come on.
All right, Denise. Denise, you're the tough seller. Christy, sorry to put you on the spot. You can beat me up in Scottsdale in a couple weeks.
I had nothing to do with that, Christy. I am really sorry. I promised we wouldn't pick on her. Denise, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
What are we talking about?
I'm usually a nice seller though, but I'll try to be mean.
Am I trying to get them to sign the contract?
Yeah,
Denise is going to fight you on price tooth and nail.
right.
Okay.
And you're at the table. This is your listing appointment. You do a one step, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Denise, are you ready to sign the listing agreement now?
Now that's kind of a direct statement. How many people just passed out on that? I'm
That's
kidding.
how Denny, that's how I go. So
Okay, I get it. Let's
Just
hear
be
it, Tyler.
you. Don't listen to him. Just be you.
Yeah, be you. I'm sad. I love it.
No, I'm not. I still have a lot of work to get ready before I want to put the house on the market.
I can completely understand that. Other than having work to do on the property, is there anything else that would prevent you from signing this listing agreement today?
I also have 2 other agents coming. You're the first one, so I really want to see what everyone else has to offer.
Okay, so other than not being ready and interviewing 2 other agents, is there anything else other than that?
You never really told me what price you'd want to list it for. So I just want to make sure it's the right price. So those would be the 3 things.
Good. I'm glad there's only 3.
Yeah, me too. So, figuring out what you need to do to get the property ready, making sure you find an agent that's the right fit for you and at the right price. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, fantastic. So what's the most important thing to you and who you're going to hire as a real estate agent today?
I'm going to put a timeout right now. This is exactly, she is following the model we talked about, acknowledge and isolate. Notice she had to get all the cards on the table. And then when there's more than one, that she did the right thing by saying, which one's the most important? Don't feel like you have to deal with them all, because they'll forget them sometimes, right? So she's following the model perfectly. And I am so impressed that she listens to me.
Yeah, it's great, really.
right.
I'd like to, I really need to interview those other agents. They're both coming next week.
Okay, so interviewing a couple agents is important to you.
Yes.
Okay, what is going to be your deciding factor in who you decide to hire?
The price they offer and the commission that they are looking for.
Okay, so other than price and commission, is there anything else?
Nope.
Okay, fantastic. So what's important to you about commission?
Well, I want to
What is it?
save the most money so that I make the most money.
Okay, got it. So if I could get you, let me ask you this. Do you have a goal in mind of what you're looking to get on this property in order to move forward on something else?
I do, but you're the expert. I really would like to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely, and I have my ideas, but is there an actual amount that you need to move on? Like, is there a bottom line for you that would be important to know about?
Right. I only have a small mortgage, so I really need to walk away with $700,000.
Fantastic. So if I could show you how I could net you $700,000, regardless of what commission it's at, but I could get you that amount or close to it, would you be willing to list with me today?
Maybe, but I just feel like, I've got those other 2 agents coming.
But if your goal is to net 700,000 or more, that's the goal, right? We want to get you as much money as possible. And I can show you how we can do that what other, why else would you need to meet with another agent at this point? If I can show you our marketing and how we can get this done, and I have a spreadsheet right here to show you that I can net you close to what you'd like, what would prevent you from just signing today so that we can get going on this quickly?
I'm gonna cave. I feel like, okay, let's see.
I know. You're playing outside your role.
Come on, listing appointments with me, really. I mean, they're great.
Well, nice job, you guys. And what's interesting is when you play role, when sometimes you learn a lot when you're the seller or the buyer role playing. And so she's attempting to be rational. She, meaning Denise, the seller.
Mhm.
And really, if you can accomplish your goals with a real estate agent you're sitting with, I mean, Christy asked a pretty tough question, like, how do you weasel out of that? And so any feedback from anyone on that? I think she did. She never made a statement. Everything was question-based.
Yeah.
So any feedback from you guys?
Do you want us to get off mic or chat? Sorry, it's my.
Oh, you off mic's fine, Jason.
So I, going into it, if it was one of the dilemmas of the other agents, would you like me to go ahead and call those other agents so it doesn't make it awkward for you, and we can just go ahead and start moving forward with this?
Awesome. And there's another part of that. There's another part of that conversation, and that's kind of a similar out of Bold. I'm not saying Bold originated it. However, I've learned that out of Bold. Does anybody have anything else to add to that conversation or to that particular, what Jason just said? Hey, look, I know you don't, let me just call them. They'll probably be relieved if they're not going to get the list anyway. They saved them all that time, blah, blah, blah. There's a second part of that that really puts the cherry on top. And it's this. Tell you what, I'll even make them great allies. I'm going to let them know that you like them. However, you decided to list with me. And we're calling them first to give them first notice of this so they might have the first opportunity to sell it. How does that sound? All right, any other comments on this before we go in on to another role play? We're doing really good. We're moving good. We'll have time for maybe three more. Any other comments? All right, that was a seller.
Nothing in the comments, and I am not going to call Christy out again for fear of retribution in Scottsdale. So, although we are going to go into a buyer role play, and I see two of my favorite people dead center of the screen. That's Keith and Al. Whichever one chimes in first gets to choose whether you're going to be the buyer or you're going to be the agent.
I'll be the buyer.
All right, Al, good job. Way to beat Keith to the punch.
Chicken,
Keith, you're the agent.
Chicken.
Keith, here's the deal. Al thinks the market's crashing, and he wants to wait for a better deal. Don't forget you're on mute. It'll be a lot easier for us to hear you if you take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I got you, boss.
All right, Al, give him the objection and let's go.
How you doing, Al? So what's seems to be troubling you?
Right now, I just see prices dropping, and I just don't think this is the right time.
Okay. So other than, fear of the market falling, is there any other reason why you don't want to buy?
Well, prices dropping is a big reason. Not only that, I've also been told that interest rates have actually came down.
That have come down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I definitely understand being concerned about the market. But if the market is, if you see prices dropping, don't you think that it would be a good opportunity to get in there, especially if the rates were falling?
Well, possibly, but I've been on you've been sending me homes for a long time, and it's amazing how many are appearing on the market, and very few are going under contract. And I see price reductions continuously coming across on what you're sending me. So it's kind of hard to not want to wait.
Got 1 minute.
So I totally understand that. So if I could show you some houses that have been stacking up in the inventory that we haven't looked at yet, that are exactly what you're looking for, would you want to buy right now?
Well, I mean, if we could maybe find the right product at the right price, absolutely. But why haven't we seen these prior?
The inventory just came in.
Let's call time there. So, how'd y'all do?
He was tough on me, man.
Uh,
Like, it's like not really logical to me to see. I don't know if that's how the consumers see it, but if prices are falling and rates are at the same time, like you'd want to buy. I want to buy. There's
Well,
so
I mean,
many more opportunities there.
all right, so you go into Bass Pro Outlet and they have these nice waiter boots on. They have them there for sale and they're going to go on sale on Friday. What do you do? And it's Wednesday.
Get there or call and order them. Would that work?
I mean, my question is, if you know something's going to be less in the future, what's the normal, what have we been trained to do?
To promote it.
Well, wouldn't you wait to go on Friday when they're on sale?
Right.
That's what buyers are thinking. That's what he's thinking. If it's going to be
So
less,
he's waiting for it to fall lower.
well, yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, 'cause
When's
I
the
was
sale
like-
gonna end?
yeah, exactly. And what if they run out? Now, there's
Right.
one question. Who remembers? This is for anyone. John, you can't answer because you know.
Yeah, I took notes, Denny. I got a couple comments.
I'll let you do that. There was one question when you work with a buyer. I want to train you guys. I want it to be ingrained in you. You must find this out very early because it changes everything you do. What's the question?
Do you rent or own right now?
Why
There
do
you
you
go.
want to buy?
Why do you want to move?
Well, that's motivation. The very first question, I heard T say it first. Somebody else might have said it. Are you currently an owner or are you a renter? Because if they're renting, they're losing. Write that down. They are losing renting. They're guaranteed to lose. John, I'll let you go with your comments in just 1 second. I just wanted to, I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't like the word buy. It's own. Doesn't own sound better? So, John, your comments.
Okay, so a little bit of fine tuning. Thank you, Denny. A little bit of fine tuning here. How many, by a show of hands, have kids? All right, Keith, I'm glad you do. You'll understand this. So if you were to say to your kids, let's say bedtime's 9 o'clock, and you say, go to bed or go to bed, which one is going to get you the response you're looking for?
How many people are in here?
The statement, not the question.
There you
Excellent. So when you say things and you're talking about buying or owning, careful of your voice inflection. Do you want to buy? You want to buy? Or you want to buy? And down. It is so much more powerful. Takes that question into a statement. It actually takes it into a command. Secondly, when you're repeating back his thoughts, repeat back his thoughts, not what you thought you heard. Because sometimes if you paraphrase, you're going to put something in his mind that he wasn't even thinking of. So use his exact words when you're repeating back how he thinks, okay?
Good feedback. Good catch on that. Nice job, Keith. Really good. It was good. I mean, you were a little bit, you were kind of following the rough model. So, all right. All right. Who's next, John? Let's go back to a seller.
All right, so let's see. We're going to just randomly pick people unless somebody raises their hand real quick. Awesome. So Noel, you're the seller. And Brian, you're the agent since you raised your hands.
Brian on?
Brian Hood,
Yes.
he's going to be our agent. Noel's going to be our seller. And Noel, you pick one common objection. We don't need to go 3 deep on objections.
Okay.
Whatever you want. One common objection.
Can I be a FISBO?
You are a FISBO seller.
All right, sounds good.
By the way, I understand what you say. Although, again, I like to use the term, she is an unassisted seller. Go.
Hello, Noel. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
My name is Brian. I'm with Keller Williams.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
I'm well. I understand you're looking to sell your home. Is that correct?
Is this a phone call, by the way? Is this a phone call?
Yeah, I'm sorry. are we
Sure,
in
we'll
person?
make it a phone call.
Are we on? We're on the phone?
Yeah, so. I
Just
tell you
close
what,
for the appointment.
well, okay, you can, I'd rather, well, if you want to be on the phone, that's okay. We can do that. I wasn't sure how it started.
Okay.
Are you at the table or is this a phone call, John?
Let's do this in 2 stages. We're going to do Brian and Noel as the phone call. The next role play will be at the table with the same objection, same people.
Okay, so the only people that, because it's a phone call, and this is a good way to practice it. I want you guys, you two that are doing a role play, turn your cameras off.
Okay.
Because you don't see the other person. I don't want you to pick up anything from a body language. Okay, it's only inflection.
Man, that is just plussing this. I love that. All right.
All
Brian,
right, ring,
make the
ring.
call.
Here we go.
Hello,
Hi, is it Noel or Nicole? What do I have here?
it's Noel.
Hi, Noel. This is Brian with Keller Williams. How are you today?
I'm good, Brian. How are you?
I'm well. I see you've had your property. You're trying to sell your property there. How's that working for you so far?
It's been going okay. I've definitely had some people through.
Okay. How long have you had your property listed, or how long have you had it for sale?
3 weeks online. It's been online 3 weeks, and I had a sign in the yard 2 weeks before that.
Okay. Have you had any offers?
Not yet, no, but I think they're coming because there seems to be a lot of interest when they come visit.
Okay. Well, if they're not making offers, how much interest do you think they have if they haven't made an offer yet?
I don't know. They seem excited to come see it, and then they're just not sure, I guess. But it's a great
Okay.
house, great neighborhood.
Oh, I'm sure it is. What are they telling you when they look at it? What's their feedback?
Some of them have said it's a little bit overpriced, but I really don't think it is.
Okay. Well, any idea what the market's doing right now? Have you been tracking that?
No, not really. I mean, it seemed like everything was so crazy there for a while that it should still be fine. It hasn't been very long since interest rates started going up, right?
Well, if you're following the market, then have you noticed that a lot of the prices are starting to drop?
No, not necessarily. Not around here anyway.
Okay. Have you also noticed that inventory is increasing, means there's more homes on the market as the prices are dropping?
I did notice that. I noticed that several have come up in my neighborhood over the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Is there some reason that you didn't use a realtor to do this transaction for you, list your property?
I mean, no offense to you, Brian, but I just really don't want to pay somebody 5 or 6% to list my house for me when I can do it myself. It seems easy enough to do it yourself anymore.
Okay, well, let's go back to that. How's it been going so far? Doing it yourself? How's that working?
Well, not great, but
Yeah,
think
I
it'll be
know.
okay.
I understand, but not great is not working for you, is it?
No, I guess it's
30
not.
seconds.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Noel, it doesn't cost you a penny for me to come over, meet with you. We can go over some numbers. I'll do a CMA. Won't charge you a penny for it. Sit down, go over it. And after my presentation, you tell me if you're interested, we can move forward. If not, I've made a new friend. What would you say to that?
So,
Okay, Brian, that sounds good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
well, you're so nice. Let me ask you.
All right, let's have it.
Well, let me ask you, Brian, do you call on unassisted sellers?
No, I haven't been doing that. No.
Okay, so I am not a believer. Thank you for playing full on. You did well making up your lines.
Yeah, I don't have a template written out for a FSBO though, so I was trying to use your you know, the
Yes.
basic template, but I don't have one just for that, the objection model. I don't have it for FISBO.
So what I want to do, you guys, here's the thing. I don't recommend you ever drive your car without fastening your seatbelt. And I don't recommend you make any outbound calls without being prepared with a script in front of you. The conversation, because it gets you started. Now, he did some things right. However, first of all, does that make sense? So does anyone have their conversation, their script handy? We can do this again. A couple different things, if you don't mind. You guys can give your feedback. I'm just attempting to get this in so we have time for one or two more. You say property. And again, I know you're talking to a seller. It sounds a little sterile. Now, I know I've been taught if you're talking to a potential seller, you don't say house, home, you say house. Property sounds a little bit sterile. You ask some good questions going up front. You ask, have you had any offers? Which is a fair question. I think a better question is, how many offers have you had? And then you can be a little bit surprised if they haven't had any. At some point in time there, you might have gone into motivation. And there was times, and again, I'm giving you just my notes. When you're on a call like that, look for the opportunity. If you've gone to motivation, then maybe you say, well, if I could help get you there, would it be worth a 20-minute conversation? And when she said, when you ask her the question, why haven't you hired a professional? You actually said realtor. And she said, well, no offense to you, but I want to save the 5 or 6%. What happens after that? Doesn't it go back to I understand, other than that, don't we have to isolate a little bit there? There could be some other reasons. And then you can say, well, other than the money, is there any reason why you're taking on all this risk and liability on your own? So if I could show you the money, if I were free, would you hire me? And you got to find a way to get to the appointment.
So Denny, let me ask you, would you, and it is staying on the isolate model, but would you shorten that to say, Noel, I appreciate that, and I hear that a lot. Let me ask you, if I was free, would you hire me? And then just wait for the response. Who's going to say no? At some point, you're going to get that seller that wants bragging rights at the bowling alley because Jeff Jones is here, or the golf course, okay? That somebody's going to want the bragging rights to say, I sold my house on my own. And that's all they want to brag about. It's just like that person who tells you they bought Twitter at 10 and now they're going to sell it for 55 when Musk closes on it, but they don't tell you about how much money they spent on Enron that they don't have anymore. So that was for Sunny, by the way, and she caught that. So anyway, commission objection is always about net. It's never about commission. So then when they say, yeah, show me that it's free. Awesome. I can do that today at 3 or tomorrow at 5. Get the appointment. And then you have to have, that's the sort of person that's going to need statistics of some sort that shows that the average for sale by owner sells for 6.5% less than using a realtor. And 92% of transactions that are for sale by owner have a realtor involved in one way, shape, or form. Yes, I can rattle all this stupid stuff off, and it drives Denny nuts. So I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, I guess it's really, if you really believe in the value. I mean, if you really believe in our worth, right? As I said before, a great listing agent is the agent who can deliver the maximum return of equity for a seller in the time the seller has available. And I believe it's that our service is free to a seller, even in the market we came out of. Yeah, I know, it's like fishing in a trout pond. However, there is a skill at what we do, you guys. And so if you allow me to maybe role play, I will demonstrate that if I have maybe 4 minutes to have the conversation at the table. All right, you said you were free. So what do you mean? So pick me out pick me out a, well, I got you, oh, you're on my screen, so maybe it's just a blessing you're there. Can you talk?
Yes, I can.
As shy as you are. Okay, so if we're at the table, how, and you say, how are you free?
Okay, so you're telling me that it's free. How could it be free if I'm paying you $40,000 to sell my home? How is that free?
Well, okay, so that's a great question. Let me just ask you a couple questions. The $40,000, and how did you come up with that number?
Well, I want 915,000 for my house, and if I'm paying you even 4%, where I know realtors charge 5%, that's $38,000.
Okay.
Or
So
nine.
let me ask you, had you already made a commitment that if I had a buyer for your home that gave you the number that you thought was acceptable, would you be willing to pay my broker a fee for that?
I don't understand what you're saying. You just said that you can show me how you're free. And I said, how is a $40,000 commission for a 950 home free? So I don't understand your question.
Well, I'm going to help you understand that it's not a $40,000 fee. So if you'll just indulge me a couple of questions. So so if I had a buyer or any other agent had a buyer, had you planned on paying them, or you're not going to pay them at all?
So we were talking it over and we're still undecided. We're undecided. We don't like realtors. We don't really even want them to call us. So we don't know how we're going to handle that situation.
Okay. Well, do you know what percent of buyers buy with the help of a real estate agent?
What does that have to do with how you're free? I'm being hard. I'm being very hard.
Well, that's probably because of your background and your experience.
What?
So, because you have to deal with cranky people.
We're not cranky. We're awesome.
I know you are. So I just understand. So would it surprise you that over 90%, so I'm not going to say 92 because people get lost in the details. 9 out of 10 buyers out there are buying with a real estate agent. So are you saying that you're only going to work with 10% of the buyers?
We were thinking about it. If we could get a buyer, we just need one buyer. So if that comes from the 10%.
I only have 4 minutes. And so just roll with me, and we can, when we have an hour and a half role play next time, then we can go through this. What I'm attempting to do, you guys, I am attempting to whittle it away, because most for sale by owners or unassisted sellers have already made up their mind, except this one, that they are going to pay an agent something. Yeah, I'm going to pay an agent. I'll pay an agent 2%. So you're going to pay him.
Right.
So you're going to pay him 20,000, right?
Yeah. So we're going to pay an agent. If an agent brings a buyer, we're going to give 1.5%. So we're willing to give a 15,000 commission.
Okay. Just, you change the numbers on it. Just say it's 20. You're going to pay him whatever. You're 20,000.
20,000. Yeah.
I want to keep it the same 40. All right. So if 9 out of 10 buyers basically have an agent, then you have a 90% chance you're going to have to pay the 20,000 to the buyer's agent. But you're okay with that, right?
Yeah. Cost of doing business.
Got it. And by the way, then you're not really saving 40,000. You're saving 20.
I hear that.
Okay. I mean, all right. So you're going to go alone because you want to realistically save the listing side, the $20,000, correct?
If we're saving 20,000 potentially, I mean, I can help my daughter buy a car, like a used car, or help her with her lease. So it's just a lot of money, you know. We can take our family on a cruise, like that's like money that we really could use.
Then let me ask you, okay, so do you do real estate for a living?
Well, I'm in sales and my husband runs his own business. So we're very familiar with, navigating calls and answering questions and coordinating and scheduling. So yeah, we're comfortable with that.
Okay.
She's just like GL Holmes this morning, Denny. You ask a question, she won't answer it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. As long as I'm going to put a bow on this, you guys stay with me. What I'm going to do is whittle down. Now, one time, let's say that was 4%, 20 grand, 40 grand. Let's say it's 4% that we're going to pay. I've gotten rid of half the fee. Now I'm going to get rid of the other. This is how you're going to demonstrate that you're free. So let me ask you, How did you determine your asking price?
We looked on Zillow and we saw like that, you know, that the estimate from our home was like 935, and we know that our neighbor sold for 850. So we thought our house is better because it has a nicer yard. So we thought 950 was the right price.
Okay, and now is it possible? Now you've seen how crazy the market is, and we see homes going over asking price all the time. Is it possible, because you don't do this full time, that a seller in your position might underprice it by 1%, maybe just 1%?
Yeah, that's possible.
And then maybe when an offer comes in, they may not negotiate as good as they could, because they might, because they don't do it, and they're actually negotiating with a professional agent who's working for the buyer. Is it possible that a seller maybe does not negotiate such a good deal, and maybe it could knock off another 0.5%, maybe, because that's not what they do?
I mean, we know what we want, so we're not gonna take anything less than that. So it's not really gonna be an issue for us.
I get that. However, would it bother you after the sale if you could have had sold it for $50,000 more? Or are you okay with a lower number?
No, of course we want to get as much as possible. That's why we're doing it on our own.
Well, let me ask you a question. So when you go, my wife goes to a really cool stylist and she pays like $350 to get her haircut. She could go to a cut hut for $25. Why do you think she goes to the, why do you think she spends $350?
Could I break out of role play for a sec?
Not if you're gonna talk about your hair, no.
How do you assess whether the person's mind is made up before they even started speaking to you, and if they're willing to be influenced? Because when I started the role play, there are people who their minds have been made up. They're not using a realtor. They have certainty, and it's like you're not going to move the needle with them. So what's your take on that?
Well, they may say that. I just know that if are you trying to save money or make money? You just said you don't want to work with a real estate agent because you want to put more money in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
What if a real estate agent could put more money in your pocket? Are you still saying you don't want to work with an agent because you don't like agents?
So then you have to convince them. But if someone's mind is made up,
No, there's no convincing.
fine.
I don't
If their
convince
mind is
any.
made up that what you're saying is not, their mind is made up that they don't agree with you before you even started your whole speech.
Yeah, but their mind is always changing if you give them logical reasons to change their thinking. It is irrational. So are you saying if I could come in here and sell your house for $100,000 more than you could, and you're saying, no, Denny, my mind is made up, I don't want to use a real estate agent.
No, my mind is made up that that's not possible. You're telling me you can get me $100,000 more. My mind is made up. It's not possible.
All right. And so what if it were? Would you at least entertain the thought?
I don't want to be locked into anything.
Okay. So we don't, I'm outside 4 minutes. We're running out of time. So I don't know. Anyway,
You're approaching 10, but that's okay. This is fun.
I don't want to go too long. I want to make sure I put a bow on this. So what, if you want to get into commission, you've got to, first of all, cut it in half, then go through the value proposition. Believe me, as hard as we worked at finding the right price in the last 1.5 year market, how many times were we shocked that it went way over what we thought? Now, if the market's changing, it may go under what we think. And then, by the way, what we're finding now is that buyers are feeling like they have a little bit more power. So they're coming in after the contract's been negotiated and renegotiating because of the inspection. We're seeing this all the time right now. They wouldn't do that before. So what you want to do is start whittling that away. And then, by the way, what's your time worth? What about the liability? So literally, if I had the opportunity with Yael and the time, and I could have demonstrated that we are free. For example, if a painter, last thing I'll say, because I won't go long. Can anyone paint their house? Absolutely. Is there a difference in a professional painter painting your house than you painting it? Yes, cutting in, it's the quality of the work. So it's not logical if a painter were going to knock on your door and say, listen, I give away one free paint job every year and you won, I'm a reputable painter. Would it be rational to say no to that? And that's what unassisted sellers are doing. First of all, they might say, I don't need you to sell my house. Agree with them. They don't. We don't need a barber to cut our hair. we can cut it ourselves. They call it flow beads. However, we're going to look like we cut our own hair. We can do it all ourselves, you guys. So sorry I had to rush that. I don't know if I made the point. People may be hanging up on me. I don't know. I don't want to lose our viewership. And any thoughts on what we were doing there?
I love the 1% example because it's so relatable and it's so powerful. Like 1% is $9,000. That took you half off. So I like that.
So then you're doing all the other, because with 20,000 went to the buyer's agent, a percent off. Now we're only talking about $9,000. So her mind of going from 40,000 she's spending and whatever. So that's how you do it. And you have to just stand on your ground that basically they cannot do what we do. They can't, because there is a skill to it.
And the painter analogy is also awesome because my house will look insane if I tried painting it on my own. Insane.
Anyone can sing, but they're not going to get paid for it. I won't.
So
Anyone can
Denny, what
dance.
you just did, we talk about breaking your mortgage payment down to the ridiculous. Are you willing to give up a cup of Starbucks every other day in order to get the house? This is the same thing. The decimal point's just been moved a couple spots to the right. That's all. All you're doing is breaking it down to the ridiculous.
Well, any thoughts? Anybody have an aha or two? This is what we feed on. It's Friday. It's happy hour somewhere. Give us a couple ahas. Jeff, you're always good about sending me a note or whatever. What did you hear today was worthwhile?
He's on mute still.
Yeah. Oh, you know who's on? Kelly's on. Hold on. See what her.
Well,
She was notes.
Kelly, yes.
Sorry.
Got it.
Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. No, I like the idea of how you handled the commission objection and used it as an entree to set the appointment. It's like, what if I was to work for free? Are you available tomorrow at 3 or 5? I thought it was, that's taken the pressure off you to deal with that subject and helping you to set the appointment.
Thank you, Jeff. Awesome. One more.
Just a good reminder that we really only have about 2.5 months left to meet our, 2022 goals.
Yes, that's pretty sobering. And when you get to be my age, you don't even know how much time you have left. 2.5 months could be like a long, go by like that. All right. Well, thank
Hey,
you guys
Denny,
for being on. Yes.
Just a reminder for everybody, the replay for this will be on Denny's YouTube page and on Denny's Mastery of Real Estate Facebook page. So if you need to go back and reference anything, you'll be able to go back and see it there.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you all. And be careful out there, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Denny.
And thank you, Sunny. Thank you, John. Everyone's done wonderful today.
Thank you, thank you.
Very
Thanks,
interesting.
Denny. Thanks, John. Thanks, Sonny.